Chapter 56. Tempest edged the first bird hit like thunder. It dove from the clouds, four wings slicing through the air, the wind pressure alone forcing everyone to brace. Dust and river mist whipped around them in violent spirals. Bash's hand snapped up. Contact! Open fire! Sidearms cracked in unison. Terran and Bash unleashed overlapping bursts, rounds streaking upward through the haze. Their bullets struck true, but the air itself fought them. The high-pressure wind slowed each round mid-flight, blunting their impact. Sparks and shallow dents rippled across the bird's armored feathers, but nothing more. Naira's rifle thundered beside them, the sharp blue arcs of her shots cutting through the storm like lightning. Yet every beam twisted in the turbulence, veering wide before they would find a target. The distortion bent her aim, scattering blue streaks harmlessly into the sky. Feathers drifted, but no blood fell. Each flap of those massive four-winged forms only made it worse, turning the air itself into a living shield. The gusts rolled over the team in violent waves, throwing up curtains of dust and water vapor that blurred everything beyond a few meters. Minimal damage, Terran yelled over the roar. Keep the pressure up, Bash barked, firing again, even as the wind folded around the bullet trails, draining their strength. It was like shooting through water, every impact too soft to matter. Callan loosed an arrow, the shot nearly perfect, until the next downbeat of air twisted the trajectory and sent it spinning wide. Damn it, he hissed, shielding his eyes. The pressure surged. Dust exploded upward, pelting their armor. Visibility plummeted to almost nothing. The birds beat their wings in unison, and the downburst hit like a wall. Bash slid half a step backward, boots grinding deep into the dirt. The gale screamed around them, drowning out the sound of their weapons as the battlefield dissolved into chaos and haze. Every attempt to aim vanished into chaos. Their shots weren't landing. They weren't even reaching. Everyone hold position, Bash shouted, voice muffled by the roar. The world became wind and noise. Gravel stung skin. Leaves tore free from the trees, the air itself screaming. Bash could barely see Richter 10 feet ahead, raced behind his hammer like a wall against the gale. Then the tornadoes began. They weren't full-size stow, RMS, but concentrated pillars of spiraling wind that twisted out from beneath the diving birds. Each one tore across the ground, scattering debris in every direction. The sound was deafening, sand grinding, the deep drone of wings merging with the storm's howl. Eyes up, Bash barked. Keep firing. Short bursts. Save your rounds. He and Terran fired into the flashes of shadow overhead, the only shapes visible through the swirling dust. Richter took the brunt of it, a wingtip clipping his shoulder and sending him stumbling. A moment later, claws raked across his backplate, enough to draw blood. He grunted, swung back blindly, and the hammer connected with a heavy crack that sent feathers scattering through the storm. Mid-range can't see, Nair yelled. No visuals. No shots. We're blend. Callan shouted, shielding his bowstring. Can't hit what we can't track. A gust tore through, nearly knocking Bash off balance. He tasted grit and blood. Then Nair's voice cut through again, sharper this time. Wind. Minerals resistant to wind. Dark. Leora, use what you learn. What the hell do you mean use it? Dark shouted back. We barely know how, just do something. Bash roared. Get this dust down so we can shoot. The two mineral users exchanged a glance, panic, then resolve. Leora thrust out her palms. Dark mirrored her on the opposite flank. The air rippled around them as faint gray light bled from their hands, pulling particles inward. The howling storm shifted, thinning, the dust drawing together like metal to a magnet. Seconds later, two dense orbs of compact, dust hovered in the air, heavy, motionless, unnatural, and the rest of the field cleared. Visuals up, Nair shouted, snapping her rifle into position. Her shot cracked the silence. A blue arc tore through the sky, slamming into one of the diving birds. The creature spasmed midair, stunned, its flight pattern breaking. Hit confirmed, she called. Bash saw the opening instantly. He sprinted forward, drew, and hurled one of his knives. The blade flashed red mid-spin and buried itself in the joint of the creature's nearest wing. The razorine imbuement bit deep. Blood sprayed outward in a thin mist as the metal twisted inside the wound. The bird shrieked, flailing, losing altitude but still trying to climb. Son again, Bash yelled. Nair fired before he finished the word. The second shot cracked through the air, blue lightning streaking into the same bird. The stun hit harder this time. The beast's body went rigid, its remaining wings faltering. It dropped like a stone. Richter didn't wait for it to crash. Now, he and the melee trio, Leora and Dark, rushed forward, their silhouettes cutting through the clearing storm. The impact shook the ground when the bird hit, flapping and screeching, two wings still half working. Richter swung his hammer upward, smashing into its neck. Dark followed with a slash across its face, Leora with a downward strike that pierced just under the eye. Bash close in and felt it, a massive jolt in his chest, not enough to floor him, but enough to send a shock through every nerve. Tier 1 advance, one signature confirmed. SE report. Ed in his mind. Yeah, no kidding. He grunted, steadying himself. The others didn't notice his brief stumble. To them it looked like he ducked under another gust. The air still howled, whipping sand and feathers around as the other 4 birds began to dive again. Same plan, Bash shouted. Lock them down. Clear the dust. Leora and Dark raised their hands again, focusing through the strain. The wind fought back harder this time, resisting their pull, but the minerals flared brighter, their cores resonating as they gathered the airborne sand into tighter spheres. The moment visibility opened again, Nair's rifle fired. The second bird froze mid-flight, dropping fast. Ash moved without thought, one knife to the front wing joint, another to the same side second wing. Both hit true. Fluid and feathers exploded outward, and the creature's body twisted as it crashed into the dirt. Callan's arrow flew immediately after, spearing clean through its skull just before impact. The bird's momentum carried it skidding across the ground. Target down, Bash yelled. Callan staggered. His bow dropped, a choke sound tearing from his throat. He fell to one knee, clutching his chest. Callan, Terran shouted, sprinting toward him. But the fight wasn't done. The third bird swept below, claws scraping sparks off the rocks as it passed. Bash turned, sidearm barking in his hand. 3 rounds struck center mass, nothing fatal but enough to stagger it. Nair fired again, another stun burst slamming into its chest. The beast wobbled, wings folding, and crashed directly between Rixer and Leor. They dove on it instantly, weapons rising and falling in brutal rhythm until the movement stopped. Another jolt hit Bash's chest, sharp, electric, fleeting. He bit back a curse and pressed a hand to his sternum. Confirmed secondary pulse, SE noted calmly. Still no ability resonance detected. Yeah, I noticed, he hissed inwardly. The fourth came screaming down from above, claws extended. Bash rolled aside, felt the wind tear past. Callan, back on his feet, pale but steady, fired an arrow that punched through one of its wings. The bird reeled, spinning off balance. Rixer took the opening and leapt, hammer swinging. The impact echoed like a crack of thunder as the bird crumpled. Another pulse, Bash again. His muscles twitched involuntarily. Why me? He thought. Why only me? SC's response was quiet. Unknown energy transfer prioritizing proximity perhaps. He didn't reply. The last bird circled high, watching the carnage below. Blood mist drifted on the wind. Then, with a cry that shook the valley, it dove. Last one, Bash shouted. Drop it before it reaches us. Nair fired. The shot grazed its wing. Callan drew back, breath steady, and released. The arrow streaked upward, slicing through one of the creature's lower wings and straight into its chest. The bird shrieked, wings locking, body twisting midair before crashing into the shallow water beside the riverbank. When the echo faded, silence filled the space it left behind. Everyone stood still, panting, staring at the scattered remains of feathers and broken wings. The air finally settled, the wind dying onto a gentle current that carried dust away from the battlefield. Callan dropped his bow and bent over, gasping. That was all of them. Rixer grinned through exhaustion. Nice shooting, boy. Callan looked up weakly. Appreciate it, I think. Bash's heart still thudded with aftershocks. Every time one of the birds had died, he'd felt that same surge. Not as sharp as before, but consistent, predictable. He kept silent. Let's harvest and get out of open ground, he said finally. They moved methodically, cutting the vast wings free and stacking them alongside the remaining fish from earlier. Nair confirmed their readings. All 5 were Tier 1 advanced. Wind classification. Bash logged the numbers automatically. 967 fish scales, 5 full wing sets. Their point total now sat at 2,491. Terran knelt beside Rixer, cleaning the shallow claw marks across his back with practiced hands. You really should stop catching blades and claws with your body, she said. He gave her a crooked grin. Guess it's a good thing I've got high durability, and a healer who likes me enough to patch me up. She rolled her eyes, though her faint smile lingered. Don't push your luck. As she worked, Callan tested his bow arm, rotating it carefully. So wind, he said. That's what the pulse was. Twice, actually. Dark looked over. You unlocked. Yeah, guess I'm the wind guy now. Feels weird. Could use that, Rixer said, nodding. Durability tank, healer, 2 mineral DPS, wind precision, rifle and sidearms, and Bash is whatever the hell he is. We might actually make it through this. Bash smirked faintly. Let's hope. Everyone work with your course tonight. Figure out what you can do. The more we understand, the better we'll adapt. They nodded, exhaustion overtaking adrenaline. The sun dipped low, casting the river in shades of gold. They gathered near the campfire, cooking ration packs over portable burners, the smell of seared protein mixing with the faint metallic tang of the battlefield. The mood was calm now, almost reflective. Taryn leaned back beside Richter, nudging him lightly. See, told you it's a good thing I'm around. He chuckled, wincing at the movement. Yeah, guess I owe you dinner when we get out of here. Make it two, she replied with a grin. Bash stood a few feet away, staring into the flickering waterlight. His hand drifted to his chest again, where the phantom echoes of the essence pulses still tingled faintly beneath the skin. SC, what the hell is going on? A pause. Unknown, but the pattern is consistent. Whatever it is, it's not random. Bash exhaled slowly through his nose, eyes on the fading light. Yeah, he murmured. Didn't think so. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock chapter 57, the horned plain, the river still whispered beside them, its low current catching the last light of the setting sun. The campfire crackled low, reflecting off the water in fractured bands of gold. Portable burners hissed softly as ration packs simmered over their heat. The faint scent of seared protein mixed with the metallic tang of spent ammunition and drying blood from the day's battles. They'd chosen to stay close to the riverbank for the night. Easy water access, clear visibility, and enough open ground to see anything that might approach. The air was cooler here, heavy with mist rising off the surface. Richter sat cross-legged near the fire, tightening the haft of his hammer wide. A strip of composite tape. Nair had her rifle broken down across her lap, cleaning each component with the same focus she'd shown in battle. Callan and Leora worked in silence, checking arrows and blades, while Taryn leaned back against a smooth rock, eyes closed but still alert. We'll move out at first light, Bash said, lowering his pack beside the flames. If we're ready before sunrise, we can clear another site before it heats up. Good, Richter grunted. We all need a normal fight for once. Taryn opened one eye. Define normal. Anything that doesn't fly or sting. That earned a quiet chuckle from a few of them. Exhausted laughter, but genuine. Bash activated his wrist display, the faint blue hologram lighting his face. 2 new markers pulsed near the river region. 1 indiv. Idul. 1 swarm. Fresh readings. Individual about a click northeast. Swarm around 5 clicks. We'll hit the single mark first thing tomorrow. Fine by me, Nair said. Swarm can wait. Agreed, Bash replied. Every dense pocket's given us major point gains, but the individual's close. Easier recovery window. They ate the rest of their rations quietly. The fire's light shimmered over their gear and the faint ripples of the river beside them. Conversation drifted from tactics to exhaustion to short bursts of silence. When Bash finally stood to take first watch, the night had turned silver with moonlight. Mist clung low to the river, and the sound of distant wings echoed somewhere far upstream. After about an hour, Bash gave the horizon one last slow scan. Calm, still, secure. Set ease. Fied. He crossed back through the faint glow of the fire, nudged Richter awake, and sank into his sleeping sack. The steady rhythm of the river filled the silence, and sleep claimed him almost at once. They rose before dawn. Mist clung to the low ground, pale against the dark rock of the slope. They ate in silence. Protein bars, electrolyte packs, a quick water ration, and ran the inventory check. Sidearms, 300 rounds for Taryn and him each. Bash confirmed. Naira, 250 remaining. Nair nodded, checking her counters. That's right, Aros. Bash looked at Callan. 170. Lost a few to the river. Still solid. Good. We're stocked. They broke camp within minutes, following the incline northeast. The terrain grew steeper, carved with narrow ridges and tufts of pale grass that shimmered faintly under the rising light. After an hour's climb, Bash raised a hand for silence and crouched near the ridge's edge. Below, the valley opened wide, a stretch of rocky plain dotted with sparse brush and jagged stone. Movement rippled through it, dozens of pale shapes grazing in loose clusters. Each stood nearly 2 meters tall at the shoulder, bodies broad and heavy-limbed. A single black horn grew from the center of the skull, spiraling upward almost 1.5 meters, glowing faintly gold whenever 2 of them brushed against each other. Energy signature consistent with low-tier healing resonance, SE confirmed. Healer class. Probability, Tier 1 common or greater. Figures, Bash muttered. Richter peered down beside him. You think they'll rush like the first herd? Unknown. Healers don't usually swarm, but if they are herd bonded, you let the sentence die. They all remembered the stampede. Let's test it. Terran holstered one sidearm, drawing the other, one at a time. The first engagement was clumsy. They descended halfway down the slope, set their firing line, and targeted an isolated beast near the edge of the herd. Vash gave the signal. Sidearms flared. Arrows hissed. The first volley struck across its flank, but before the second could land, the horn ignited. A faint pulse spread through the creature's body, golden light sealing the shallow wounds almost instantly. Terran blinked. It's healing itself. Confirmed. SC said in Bash's mind. Localized restoration. Output minimal. Duration short. Not minimal enough. He muttered. Ed. The beast lowered its head and charged, surprisingly fast for its size. Bash and Terran's second volley landed squarely in its chest, slowing it but not stopping it. Richter braced, hammer forward, catching the impact across his shoulder and rolling aside. Callan's next arrow hit just behind the shoulder joint, an exposed gap, and the creature stumbled. Bash closed in, firing 3 rapid shots into the leg joint. The horn flared again, trying to knit the damage, but too slowly this time. The others converged, blades flashing, gunfire overlapping until the creature collapsed under the combined assault. When it stilled, Bash felt the pulse. Faint, electric, familiar. Another T1C, he thought to SC. Could have guessed it from the intensity. Confirmed, essence matches common classificate. Tian, still nothing unlocked. No deviation detected. Bash's jaw tightened. He could count them in sequence now. Durability, speed, power, water, wind, healing. 6 distinct signatures. 6 different pulses. No progress. They harvested the horn, the tip glowing faintly before shrinking into a coin-sized fragment. After that, efficiency replaced experimentation. They learned quickly, isolate, flank, overwhelm. When the horns glowed, they fell back for 5 seconds, letting the light dim before striking again. Once the timing locked in, it became a rhythm, like breathing. By the 5th beast, no one needed orders. The front line, Richter, Darek, Livora, held position, intercepting charges and anchoring the movement. Terran and Bash rotated reload seamlessly, keeping suppressive fire steady. A die while Meyer and Callan picked off joints and eyes from mid-range. The horns pulsed golden every skirmish, brief flashes of resistance. The air filled with the scent of scorched grass and faint ozone from Nayar's rifle. Within minutes, each creature dropped, winds closing too slowly to matter under coordinated fire. After a dozen, the shock of seeing the golden healing light faded. After 20, the process became clockwork. Bash directed from midline, calm, efficient, counting ammunition, calling reloads, adjusting angle. His internal counter ticked with every pulse he felt, a soft electric beat under his sternum, steady as a metronome. By the time they reached 30, the team moved as a single organism. Communication dropped to hand signals and instinct. When they finally cleared the last cluster, the valley had gone still again. Over 100 bodies lay scattered across the slope, each one dissolving slowly into dust as their horns detached and shrank to glowing fragments. They gathered them carefully, stacking them in mesh pouches, 107 fragments in total. The soft gold light flickered against their fatigues as the last one dimmed. Good work, Bash said, voice calm but clipped. Check camo. Down to 260, Terran replied. 230, Nair said. Arrows 158, Callan added. All acceptable, Bash confirmed. He glanced at his watch. 2.17 of 3.00. We should start angling back toward the QTP, he said. If we keep a steady pace, we'll reach it by sundown. That'll give us 4 hours after sunrise tomorrow for one final hunt before extraction. They all nodded. The satisfaction was subdued. Efficient victory, clean and without injury, but the fatigue was showing. Still, morale was high. As they packed the last of the fragments, SE's voice brushed his thoughts. Consistent Tier 1 common pulses. Healer-type resonance confirmed. No core reaction. No unlock. Bash muttered. None detected. Statistical deviation remains significant. He exhaled slowly. That's 6 now, he thought. 6 classes, and not one channel open. Observation. Improbable but not impossible. Yeah, that helps. He turned toward the ridge. Move out. The descent was quiet. The herd valley faded behind them, replaced by sparse trees and open grassland. Conversation returned only when the terrain leveled and the tension eased. Those horns, Richter saw. ID. Tapping one of the fragments in his pack. They actually glowed brighter when they were healing. Terran nodded. Could see it pulse through their skin. Every time we hit one, it was like the light was fighting back. At least they weren't aggressive. Callan added. I'll take glowing healers over stampedes any day. Richter smirked. Yeah, and if you pair that with my durability and your wind tricks, we've got a proper tank and support setup now. Don't forget my part, Terran said, nudging his arm. Durability useless without someone to patch the dents. Bash allowed a faint smile. Good. Keep refining it. Talk to your cores. Figure out how to apply those traits in live combat. The more we understand before the next run, the better our odds. Terran adjusted the strap on her side. RM, thoughtful. You know I didn't feel the pulse every time one of those things went down, she said quietly. Maybe half of them. But after each one I did feel. It was like a boost. More energy to work with. Easier to channel the healing flow. Rixer grinned. Guess you're getting stronger already. Maybe, she said, still half uncertain. Or maybe the resonance just lines up sometimes. Bash didn't respond right away. He had felt the same uneven rhythm. The soft electric thrummed through his chest with each death. But unlike her, this came without benefit. No strength, no ability, just that faint reminder of something misaligned. She's describing the same pattern, he thought. Confirmed, SC replied. Her core is converting the resonance into energy flow. Yours continues to regis. Our transfer events with no resulting unlock. So it's not shared energy. Unlikely. Parallel reaction, not connection. Bash exhaled through his nose, keeping his expression neutral. Whatever it is, he said aloud, keep tracking it. If you can feel the rhythm, we can use it. Taryn nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Already, Richter chuckled. Good. Means you can keep patching me up when I start breaking things again. That earned a few tired laughs, and the tension eased as they continued down the slope. The sun warm on their backs and the faint glimmer of the valley ahead. They walked in silence for a while after that, the sun rising higher, light spreading across the plain. Bash flicked his wrist display open again. The map shimmered faint blue over his arm, the familiar grid of terrain updating to reflect their movement. A few clicks away, on open terrain, movement flickered. They walked in silence for a while after that, the sun rising higher, light spreading across the plain. The terrain here was unfamiliar. Their route back toward the QTP cut straight through open country they hadn't traveled before. Every detour they'd taken the last 2 days, after the first herd fields through the mountain ridge, the river, had pulled them wide around this region. Now, retracing toward the exit point, they were taking the most direct path for the first time. Bash flicked his wrist display open again. The map shimmered faint blue over his arm, showing their previous routes curving in arcs around the stretch of terrain. We're off the known path, he murmured. This is the straight line back to the QTP. No scan data beyond the ridge. Means we're in unlogged ground, Nair said. Could be nothing. Could be everything. A few clicks ahead. Newman caught the light. Figures grazing in the open, leaner and smaller than the last herd they'd encountered. Their hides gleamed bronze and tan, sleek and muscular. From their crowns rose enormous branching antlers, wide and complex, sweeping upward like living spires of polished foam. Each set shimmered faintly in the morning light, the patterns along the ridges pulsing subtly as the creatures moved. They stood in scattered clusters, lowering their heads to feed, the massive antlers shifting like interlocking trees when they brushed past one another. Even at a distance, Bash could LD tell those antlers weren't ornamental. They were weapons, grown for combat as much as display. Bash raised his hand, signaling the group to halt. Visual contact. 50, maybe more. Rixer tightened his grip on his hammer. Another herd? Looks like it, Bash said after a moment's study. No reaction yet. They don't even see us. He let his hand fall. Hold here. Rest. We'll assess up close once we know their behavior. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 58. The antler-tied Bash and Rixer broke off from the group, moving low through the tall grass. The morning light was sharp, cutting clean across the open field as they crested a small ridge. From there, they had a clear view of the creatures, nearly 50 of them grazing lazily across a shallow basin below. The beasts stood tall and long, sturdy legs, shoulders nearly level with Bash's chest. Their hides gleamed with metallic undertones, bronze and tan that caught the sunlight like burnished stone. Massive, branching antlers rose from each head, white as trees and heavy low, oaking, the ridges pulsing faintly with an earthly shimmer every few seconds. Count? Rixer whispered. 50, give or take. Bash replied. He studied them carefully, eyes narrowing. Communal herd, from the looks of it, moving like a single unit. Rixer frowned. Meaning if we spook one, We spook all. They watched for several minutes. The creatures moved in slow rhythm, none straying far from the others. No hostility, but no individuality either. Every step, every turn of their heads seemed synchronized. Bash's instincts tightened. Herds that moved like that didn't just defend each other. They acted as one. SC's voice hummed softly in his mind. Data alignment suggests mineral classification. Tier 1 common. Low threat individually, but collective aggression probability exceeds 70%. Mineral class? He thought back. Figures. Correct. Expect projectile or density-based manipulation. He exhaled quietly and signaled for them to return. They regrouped at the base of the ridge. The others had been cleaning weapons and checking gear, but their postures straightened as Bash approached. Report, Terran asked. 50 confirmed. Not aggressive, but they move in sync. Bash said, flag them mineral class, tier 1 common. That means we go in assuming the herd fights together. Rixer adjusted his hammer across his shoulder. So we try to separate one? That's the idea, Bash said. We pull one out, test behavior. If the rest stay calm, we thin the herd slow. If not, he looked around the circle. We adapt. No one argued. They'd done this, enough to know there was no perfect plan, just controlled chaos. They crept closer, using low terrain and a shallow ridge for cover until they were within 200 meters. The herd barely noticed them. Each creature fed in slow, rhythmic motions, tails flicking, antlers occasionally clashing softly as they brushed past one another. Vash raised a hand. Callan, left flank. Naira, right. The rest, you're on overwatch. We drop one and see what happens. Callan drew, his breath steady. The first arrow loose with a soft hiss, streaking through the air and striking deep into the creature's neck. The beast staggered, legs trembling, but didn't fall. Then the ground trembled. The nearest grazers lifted their heads. Dozens of eyes turned in unison, glowing faintly gold beneath their antlers. A collective snort rolled through the field, a wave of tension snapping into motion. Ah, hell, Richard muttered. That's not good. The entire herd turned and charged. Form line, Bash barked. They scrambled into position. Rixer, Darik, and Ligor braced at the front. Bash and Terran formed the midline, while Callan and Naira took the rear with rifle humming to life. The herd came fast. The ground vibrated under their hooves, the low hum of energy rippling through the dirt. Contact in 5, Bash shouted. When they hit, it was chaos. Rixer's hammer cracked through the first antler, shattering it and dropping the beast mid-charge. The pulse hit him, sudden and sharp, cutting through the noise. Essence spike detected. SE reported calmly. Resonance feedback, tier 1 common. Yeah, I knowed he said. He thought back, jaw tight, still nothing unlocking. Leora darted in, blade slashing across exposed throats, while Dark spun wide to intercept another. Bash and Terran opened fire, bullets punching through dense hide, sparks flashing where rounds deflected off hardened surfaces. Eyes and joints, Bash yelled. Don't waste ammo on the torso. Naira's shots cut through the haze, precise, but for every creature that dropped, 2 more filled the gap. Their antlers glowed brightly now, light pulsing through them like veins of molten stone. Then, one of them reared up and slammed its head downward. The earth exploded. A spray of dirt and gravel shot into the air, pelting the team. More followed, each beast swinging its antlers and launching volleys of soil and rock-like shrapnel. Oh, brr, Bash shouted, ducking behind a ridge as chunks of hardened dirt rained down. They are slaying the ground at us, Callan shouted, twisting out of the way of a flying chunk the size of his forearm. Mineral manipulation, Bash said through clenched teeth. They are weaponizing terrain. Rixer roared as another charge came in, meeting it head-on. The impact shook him backward but didn't drop him. His hammer came down in a brutal arc, caving the creature's skull. Durability holding, he grunted, staggering back to his feet. Keep them close, Bash ordered. If they spread out, they'll surround us. The herd pressed in from all sides. Visibility fell to near zero as dust and debris thickened the air. Nair fired blind toward movement, while Terran ducked to reload. Leora and Dark filed, HD'd in tandem, blades flashing until a sudden wave of dirt burst beneath them. Both were thrown backward, crashing to the ground hard. Leora, Dark, Bash shouted. He saw them struggling to move, their limbs pinned by loose rock that solidified around their armor like concrete. Before he thought, he was already moving. He sprinted through the dust, sidearm blazing. 2 beasts lunged in his path. He dove low, sliding between their legs, grabbed Leora by the collar, and dragged her clear. He grabbed Dark's shoulder next, pulling hard, muscles straining as the air filled with thunder. Another wave of dirt exploded behind him. Bash twisted his body, throwing both of them out of the blast radius before the pressure slammed into him like a wall. The world spun. His armor took most of the hit, but he felt the shock deep in his ribs. He hit the ground hard, rolling through debris, coughing. Another jolt slammed into his chest, hard enough to make his vision blur for a second. SC's voice flickered in his head. Warning, minor contusion, uncritical. You are losing formation control. No shit, he muttered, pushing up to one knee. He looked back. Richter was covering him, hammer swinging wide. One of the beasts clipped Richter's shoulder, sending him stumbling, but he turned the momentum into a counter-strike that broke its neck. "Goddamn!" Richter bellowed. Taryn moved in next to him, her sidearm spitting bursts of energy into the thick of the herd. Every shot cracked bone or tore through muscle, slowing the tide by inches. She ducked low, sliding next to Bash, eyes flashing It's urgency. You're hit. Fine, he grunted. Hold still. She pressed her hands over his side, focus narrowing. A faint gold shimmer spread through her palms. The pain dulled, then vanished entirely. Better? Yeah, keep that for the others. She nodded and sprinted toward Leora and Dark, who were both half-conscious. Bash turned his focus back to the fight. Callan's arrows whistled through the chaos, hitting eyes and soft joints. Every precise shot thinned their numbers. Naira reloaded and began firing again, each round sharp and deliberate. They were regaining control, step by step. The creatures had lost formation, breaking into smaller clusters. Now, Bash yelled, group focus, right flank. The 5 standing fighters, Bash, Richter, Terran, Naira, and Callan, poured everything into the push. Another pulse tore through him, fainter this time, but constant, like static under his skin. Bullets, arrows, and hammer strikes carved a path through the confusion. The earth still erupted in bursts, but weaker now, less frequent. The herd's strength was fading. Another few minutes and the chaos began to settle. Richter crushed the last of them with a heavy downward swing. Silence fell, broken only by their breathing. Dust hung low, thick and gray, before slowly settling over the field. Bash stood there, chest heaving, scanning the field, bodies everywhere, broken antlers, torn hides, streaks of glowing residue bleeding into the dirt. Status, he said. Callan fine, came the reply. Nair clear. Richter sore, not broken. Taryn working. She was crouched next to Leora and Dee. Eric, both groaning. They'll live. Got trampled bad. Some cracked ribs, fractures. I'll have them stable soon. Richter lowered his hammer, wiping blood and dust from his brow. You pulled both of them out yourself, huh? Bash nodded once. Couldn't leave them there. Richter snorted. Next time, call me first. You were busy taking hits meant for me, Bash said. The bigger man grinned faintly. Fair trade. Taryn worked for nearly 20 minutes, her hands glowing steadily as she cycled between the 2 winded Sparters. The air around her shimmered with faint gold, the light pulsing in rhythm with her breathing. By the time she sat back, both were awake and moving stiffly. That's everyone, she said quietly. No permanent damage. Good, Bash said. We move as soon as we can walk, eh? Already walking, Dark muttered, hauling himself up. Slowly, Taryn countered. Richter exhaled hard, leaning against his hammer. 50 of them, that's one hell of a morning. 53, Callan corrected, counting the remains. They began harvesting, working efficiently despite the exhaustion. Each antler fragment glowed faintly when cut, soft light fading within seconds. The mineral density made them heavy, solid and crystalline near the roots. Vash and Richter handled the bulk of the work, breaking antlers loose while Callan and Nair bagged them. SC's voice murmured in Bash's mind. 37 confirmed Tier 1 common signatures absorbed. Essence resonance consistent. You received majority proximity allocation. Yeah, he thought grimly. Felt every one. The faint pulse still light, and jerked in his chest. A steady rhythm now. Dull but persistent. He didn't mention it. Not to SC. Not to the others. They'd all taken enough hits for one day. By the time they finished collecting, the sun had crossed the sky to early afternoon. The fight, the cleanup, the recovery, it had eaten hours. They gathered near the ridge, rehydrating and resting under what shade the terrain offered. Bash checked his timer, 2.39 of 3.00. A little more than half of a day left, he said. We keep moving. Direct route back to the QTP puts us there before sundown. Assuming we don't find another 50 of these things, Nair muttered. Let's not, Taryn said, tightening the strap on her pack. I'd rather test my healing on small cuts next time. They all chuckled tiredly. They set off again, following the most direct path toward the QTP. The landscape shifted as they went, grassy flats giving way to thin tree lines and uneven terrain. No one talked much. The air felt heavy, their steps slower than before. A few kilometers later, the trees began to thin, the air carrying a faint metallic hum that made Bash's pulse quicken. The undergrowth broke away into a wide clearing, flat, open, and eerily still. The light caught something ahead, a smooth, circular depression in the earth. In its center, faint geometric lines pulsed in steady rhythm, white and blue, forming the unmistakable outline of the QTP. Richter exhaled sharply. Home stretch. Callan lowered his bow, relief flickering across his face. Didn't think I'd be this happy to see a portal gate. Taryn smiled faintly, her tone doctored. Why, you just don't want to fight anything else. Exactly, he said. They slowed their pace as they approached the platform. The faint hum of the portal resonated in the air like a heartbeat. The ground bore marks of other teams, footprints, drag lines, discarded ration wrappers, evidence that they weren't the first to return. Bash glanced at his watch. 2.44/3.00. Right on schedule, he said quietly. We set up camp before sundown. Gives us a few hours at sunrise if we want one last sweep. Richter nodded. Or we just stay alive and let the points stand. No one argued. They dropped their packs near the outer rim of the gate, weapons stacked within arm's reach. The afternoon light caught the faint shimmer of the portal surface as it cycled between pale blue and silver. For a while, and one spoke. The breeze carried the soft whine of energy from the gate, blending with the sound of their breathing. It wasn't triumph exactly, but survival, something quieter and heavier that sat between exhaustion and satisfaction. Ash crouched near his pack, unstrapping one of his knives and wiping the edge clean against a cloth. The blade still carried faint residue from the earlier fight, metallic dust that shimmered when it caught the light. Across from him, Nair leaned against her rifle, running diagnostics as the charge cell cycled through its cooldown. He caught her eye and nodded toward the weapon. That rifle made a difference out there. She tilted her head. So did those knives. The imbuements cut through more than anything else we've seen. Yeah, Bash said. Between the two of us, I'd say the balance tipped our way. Richter grunted from his seat near the heater. You're saying we go back out, aren't you? Bash tapped the side of his wrist display. The whole map flared to life above his arm, one familiar icon blinking softly about a click away, pulsing orange in the fading light. Pack signature, he said. It's the closest target. Callan lifted his head, brow furrowed. You're suggesting a night battle? Just recon, Bash said evenly. We check the terrain. No engagement unless it's clean. We come back, plan it, and hit it first thing at sunrise. If we take it down, we might have enough to push top-tier rewards. Leora looked skeptical but didn't argue. You really think it's worth it? Bash nodded. If those last few fights taught us anything, it's that the right equipment changes everything. The rifles, the knives, gear like that could mean the difference between surviving the next portal or dying before we even sink. Taryn leaned forward, clasping her hands. He's right. 10 pieces for the top teams, that's not something we can shrug off. Richter exhaled, rolling his shoulder where the healed scar still tingled. So what's the vote? Bash looked around the circle. We call it here and wait for sunrise, or we go out, scout, and come back to finish it clean in the morning. Either way, we move as one. One by one, the nods came. Nair first, then Taryn, Callan, Richter, Dark, Leora, all in agreement. Unanimous, Bash said quietly. We go. He rose, tightening the strap on his pack and glancing at the soft glow of the QTP. The hum of the portal felt steadier now, like it approved. Eat, hydrate, and get what rest you can, he said. We move at dusk. Quick in, quick out. SC's voice murmured in his head. Risk assessment, acceptable, but your pattern of continued engagement despite fatigue indicates compulsion. He smirked faintly. No, it indicates opportunity. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out Why Book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brundock Chapter 59. Alpha without a pack, the wind cut steady from the west, cold and dry against their faces as the team moved in silence. Sand and grit hissed against fatigues, the scent of damp earth fading behind them with every step away from the QTP. Half Clake, Bash murmured, glancing at his wrist display. The faint orange pulse blinked once more, a static marker, not live, but enough to lead the men. Keep the line tight. We're walking into the wind, so scent won't carry. Richter nodded, his hammer brushing softly against the reinforced plating of his fatigues. A low, rhythmic sound beneath the wind. The land began to dip. Sparse brush gave way to stone and dust, into a steep incline that dropped suddenly away beneath their feet. Bash crouched at the edge. Below, the ground curved into a wide depression, 30 meters deep at least, 100 across, perfectly circular. Looks like a crater, Callan muttered, peering over his shoulder. Old, Bash said. Thousands of years maybe. The bowl-shaped hollow had 5 narrow paths leading in and out, each cut clean through the slope at near equal distances. Inside, thick trunk trees dotted the terrain, their roots gripping the slope like claws. Off-center, a mound of jagged rock rose 5 meters high, split open at the base. The darkness there was almost perfect. An entrance. Nair zoomed her scope in. Den, most likely, Bash said. If this really is a pack zone, that's where they hole up. No one. He moved. They watched for several minutes. The wind sighed through the trees, kicking dust along the crater's rim. Nothing stirred inside. Rixer exhaled. Could be another false beacon. Maybe, Bash said, still scanning. Or they are asleep. Minutes passed. Still nothing. Callan shifted uneasily. We calling it. Bash was about to answer when Nair's tone changed. Movement. Right path. They turned as one. Across the crater, where one of the trails cut through the slope, something moved. Large. Deliberate. Silent. A creature stepped into view, holding something limp in its jaws. At first Bash thought it was a shadow, the way the light played along the fur. Then his breath caught. It moved with a confidence that made Bash's chest tighten. Powerful shoulders, dense muscle under gray soul, or hide, had held low. To him, it looked exactly like a wolf from Earth, too much so. It carried what looked like a massive rodent, brown skin and stone-plated, unmistakably mineral tight, the lifeless prey hanging from its jaws. The creature moved with calm certainty, padding down the slope into the bowl. Definitely not in the usual records. Nair whispered. Bash's thoughts raced. SC, identify, a pause, then no match in current database. Visual and movement signatures indicate apex predator behavior. The prey specimen, Tier 1 common, mineral class, is consistent with local fauna, but the predator, unknown. Unknown, he pressed. Correct. Classification missing. This is irregular. Bash frowned. Irregular. Any apex entry at Tier 1 is catalogued. This creature is not. He studied the beast through narrowed eyes. You're sure? I am never uncertain, SC said coolly. He hesitated, then spoke aloud. Check your cores, he told the others. See if any of you can identify it. The group murmured confirmations as each activated their internal diagnostics. One by one, they shook their heads. Nothing, Terran said. Just the prey, Callan added. Tier 1 common, mineral. That's it. Vash sighed. Same here. There was a faint, pointed tone from SC in his head. Interesting that you would ask them. Had to be sure. He thought quickly. In case there's an update I didn't get, since, my glitch the silence on the other end carried enough resentment to make him wince. After a few seconds, SC replied in clipped tones. Noted. Your diagnostic up. Dates remain current. Good. He muttered under his breath. The beast dropped its prey near the rock pile and tore into it with practiced precision. The sound of cracking bone faint but unmistakable even from this distance. The team stayed still, crouched behind the cliff's lip, watching in tense silence. Nothing else moved. No shapes in the trees, no sound of paws from the tunnels. Just one predator, alone. Could be territorial, Rixer said quietly. Maybe killed the rest of the pack. Or the last survivor, Nair suggested. Doesn't add up, Bash said. A predator built like that shouldn't be alone. They hunt in packs, balance, hierarchy. Defense. Always more than one. Maybe it's different here, Terran offered. Maybe, he said, though the word came out strained. Something about it clawed at the back of his thoughts. They waited another 10 minutes. Still nothing. The creature finished its meal, dragged the remains toward the den entrance, and vanished into shadow. Bash scanned the crater once more. No movement. No sound. Only the whisper of wind curling up from below. Call it, Rixer said finally. False beacon or lone beast. We've seen what we needed. Bash gave a final nod. Pull back. No reason to risk it. They withdrew quietly, retracing their path through the darkening brush until the faint hum of the QTP returned on the breeze. Back at camp, they settled around the heater, the glow casting long shadows across their faces. The talk came slow at first. Reflections, fatigue, uncertainty. So it's just living there? Callan asked finally. One of them looked that way, Nair said. Didn't seem bothered. Confident. Too confident. Rixer leaned forward. Could mean it's been top of the food chain a while. Could mean it's waiting for something. Bash said. They all looked his way. He hesitated, searching for the right words. Everything about that behavior's wrong. Predators like that don't hunt alone. They don't leave their kills exposed. They drag them to cover or share them. That one killed, ate, then disappeared underground. No hesitation. No fear. Leora shrugged. Maybe it's not really a wolf. Just looks like one. Then why isn't it in the database? He shot back. No one had an answer. SC's voice hummed faintly in his mind. I share your concern. Absence of classification indicates a data omission or corruption. Either sin or EO implies interference. Interference? Possibly. The lack of telemetry could suggest the Nexus itself is withholding identifiers. Why would it do that? No reply. Bash stared into the low fire, jaw tightening. Something doesn't feel right, he said finally, his voice low. That thing wasn't supposed to be there, and the fact that none of us could identify it, that's not random. Richter waved him off with a tired smile. You're overthinking it. We've seen Stranger in 2 days. Maybe, Bash said, though his gut told him otherwise. He volunteered for first watch. The others ate, joked half-heartedly, then one by one drifted to their bedrolls. When silence settled again, Ash moved to the edge of camp, keeping the QTP's faint hum to his back. The night was still. The wind had shifted, colder now, carrying the faint sound of water from the river far below. He scanned the horizon. Nothing moved. You could return, SC said in his head, confirm the den's status. No direct threat detected within 2 clicks. No, he thought back. Not worth it. Your vitals are elevated. Just thinking. He stared out into the dark for a long time. The image of the beast kept replaying. Those eyes, the precise way it carried its kill, the calm authority in its stride. Alone, but not lost. Something about that confidence gnawed at him. Eventually, the hour passed. He nudged Richter awake, muttered a few words, and lay down. Sleep came slow, thick with unease. The team woke before sunrise, the pale light brushing gold across the horizon. The air carried the chill of morning and the faint, metallic tang of the QTP behind them. They ate in silence, each unwrapping protein bars and checking weapons. Ammunition, Bash asked. Terran and I split, he said, checking his sidearm. 150 each. Naira sitting at 100, she added. Callan held up a quiver. 145. Good, Bash said. We've got 4 hours until we need to be back through the portal. We take this thing out, then we go home. For the first time that morning, a few smiles broke through the exhaustion. Let's finish it, Richter said. They moved out quickly, retracing the trail back to the crater. The light grew stronger as they approached, shadows pulling back from the rock walls. When they reached the rim, Ash split the team without hesitation. Callan, Nair, sniper positions here and here, he said, pointing to opposite edges of the bowl. Richter, Leora, Dark, take the far entrances. Wait for the signal. He looked to Terran. You're with me. They moved into position, spreading along the bowl's perimeter like clockwork. The ground below looked the same as before. Silent, still, deceptively peaceful. Visual confirmation, Callan whispered through comms. Target emerging from den. Bash froze. The creature padded out slowly, sunlight glinting along its back. It sat near the rock pile, tail flicking once, then lifted its nose to the air. Wait for it to move, Bash said softly. The beast inhaled again, then its head snapped to the side. It stared directly toward Richter's position, eyes locking on him across the entire distance. Then, the glow began, faint at first, then pale threads of light tracing under the skin, then brighter, pulsing outward until both eyes burned with a cold, white radiance. Bash's gut dropped. Oh no, he whispered. The beast bared its teeth, and the crater seemed to hold its breath. The glow deepened, washing the rocks in stark reflection, and the white light flared brighter still. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book B, For the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brundock Chapter 60. The white summon of the white glow pulsed again, brighter this time, cold light threading beneath the predator's pale fur like veins of frost. Bash's eyes narrowed, and the muscles in his neck tightened. Warning. SC's voice cut sharply into his mind. High-intensity resonance detected. That pattern. Bash, this is not good. Stop filling the silence and tell me what the hell it is, he hissed under his breath. Before SC could answer, movement rippled inside the den. A Tier 1 common beast, the same mineral-plated creature they'd seen the predator drag inside the night before, crawled out on trembling limbs. Its eyes burned the same stark white. What the terror? And began. That's a summoner class reaction. SC snapped. Minimum Tier 2, possibly greater. Bash's gut went cold. Summoner, as in it calls the dead to fight for it. He didn't need to hear more. Everyone, weapons up, open fire. The world erupted. Naira's rifle cracked, a concussive roar that split the air. Callan's arrow followed, a streak of green energy through the dusk. Bash and Terran fired in unison, their rounds whistling downrange toward the predator. But before the bullets could land, the reanimated rabbit leapt into their path, its mineral shell flashing. The rounds slammed into it, ricocheting or shattering against the hardened hide. The beast spasmed, riddled with impacts, but it didn't scream. It simply fell, lifeless once again. The predator hadn't moved an inch. Its glowing eyes swept slowly across the group, reading them, measuring them. Come on, Bash muttered. Do something. The rabbit twitched. Then it began to glow again. Impossible, Terran whispered. The light intensified until the wound sealed and the corpse jerked upright, steady once more on its legs. Bash's stomach twisted. SC, tell me that's not what I think it is. Confirmed, she said grimly. It can resummon previously slain beasts if the beast fragment remains intact. That fragment acts as a tether. Unless it's destroyed or removed, the summoner maintains control. So it can just loop them? Yes. Infinite recursion, limited only by its essence reserves. Fantastic, Bash growled. So it can just keep throwing bodies at us until we drop. Correct. Bash clenched his jaw. Not helpful. More movement from the den. A blur of fur and feathers poured out. Rodents, rabbits, birds. Each pair of eyes glowed white. Behind them, the mineral horned creature they'd fought the day before stomped forward, dragging its heavy limbs through the dirt. The predator remained still, silent conductor to a growing army. It's summoning everything, Callan shouted. How do we stop this? Kill him, Bash yelled back. He's the core. Terran's twin pistols lit up the ravine, bullets flashing through the dark. You see that thing? We can't even get a shot through all this. The revived beast crashed into them in a rush of motion and dust. Birds screamed overhead, wings cutting the air. Rodents swarmed Richter's legs, claws scraping his armor. He swung his hammer in a beat, rode arc, sending bodies flying, but more filled their place instantly. 6, then 10, then more. Dark and they were moved to flank him, but the creature swarmed in overlapping packs, perfect coordination without hesitation, without fear. SC, how are they moving like that? Bash demanded, firing into a cluster to his left. Summoners link shared sensory input. He's controlling them simultaneously. Bash ducked behind a fallen tree, swapping magazines. You mean we're fighting him a dozen times over? Exactly. He fired again, but every round felt wasted. The beasts didn't retreat, didn't even stagger. They fought with mechanical precision, unbothered by pain. Terran shouted something. Bash couldn't hear over the chaos. He saw the flash of her guns, the sweep of her motion. Then the until beast slammed into her, its weight throwing her back. She hit the dirt hard and rolled, came up firing. The bullets tore glowing holes through its hide, but it kept coming, relentless until Richter's hammer smashed down between its eyes. Bone cracked, and the creature collapsed. Before it hit the ground, its eyes reignited. Bash's heart pounded. No, 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 no. Kill the fragments. I'm trying. Try harder. He broke cover, sprinting sideways through the fight. His knives flashed out, twin arcs of silver. One buried itself in a rabbit's spine. The other took a bird mid-flight. Both dropped instantly. He yanked the knives free. Each strike sparked that same faint jolt through his chest. He looked up. The predator was watching him, still unmoving, still glowing. You want me? Bash snarled. Fine. He hurled a knife straight for its chest. The blade spun, whistling through the air, and a bird ducked from the den, intercepting the strike. It fell dead at the predator's feet. Bash's knife buried to the hilt in its body. Are you kidding me? He raised his pistol and fired twice more. The rounds tore into two rodents rushing Richter's flank, giving the big man a second to breathe. Richter grunted, lifting his hammer again, smashing downward hard enough to send cracks spidering through the earth. Thanks, Richter bellowed. Don't thank me yet, Bash yelled back. He pulled another knife, spun it once, and threw. This one sailed low, right under the dust line, aimed true for the predator's chest. But the ground moved. A deep rumble shuddered under his boots as the den split wider. The hulking shape of a durability-type beast, the same kind from their first battle, rose from the dark, intercepting the throw. The knife sank deep into its side, but the creature didn't even flinch. It turned, glowing white eyes locking onto him. Oh, come on, Bash muttered. The beast charged. He fired 3 rounds into its head, then sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the bulk as it slammed into the tree he'd been standing beside. Bark exploded outward. Bash pivoted, jammed his last magazine home, and shot again. Nothing slowed it. The beast lunged, hoofs carving deep furrows into the dirt. Bash dropped low, slid beneath the swing, and drove a knife up into its throat. The blow carried through. The creature gurgled and collapsed, its momentum throwing its bulk into the ground at his feet. He yanked the blade free, panting. SC, still nothing. No pulses. Nothing's transferring, correct? She said. Her tone clicked. These bodies have already been drained. Their essence was consumed when they first died. What remains are hollow vessels, reconstructed from the beast fragments the predator is using to summon them. So it's just throwing corpses at us, he muttered, ducking under another strike. Reanimated corpses, SE replied, each one tied to the summoner's energy field. Destroy the source, and they fall. He ripped the other knife from the fallen beast's ribs and, without thinking, threw both at once. They spun perfectly, aimed straight for the predator's chest, and two more birds burst from the den, intercepting again, their bodies dropping like sandbags in front of the summoner. The white glow flared brighter in the dark. How do we stop this thing? Bash demanded. He'll keep summoning until he's dead or out of energy. SC answered. You have to shut him down directly. Then we focus fire, Bash shouted across the comms. Center target, now! Hit him before he calls more. We can't. Terran's voice came through, ragged with exhaustion. We're barely holding these off. Bash turned, scanning the chaos. Rixer, Leora, and Dark were swallowed under swarms of rodents and rabbits, 6 to 10 each, their armor streaked with dirt and blood. Terran was half kneeling, firing through a haze of feathers as the horned beast pressed her hard. Callan's arrows streaked overhead, slicing through birds, while Nair's rifle cracked sharp, PR, precision shots cutting down anything with wings. Still, it wasn't enough. He sprinted toward Rixer, firing as he ran, dropping 2 rodents off the big man's shoulder. The others piled on immediately. Dark screamed as one of the mineral rabbits landed into his chest, ripping his armor. Leora went down under 3 more. He slashed another reanimated beast across the neck, its body collapsing in a heap of dust and bone. SE, he said through clenched teeth. Still no end to them. Confirmed, its summoning loop hasn't broken. Its energy readings remain stable. Then it's not just endless, it's efficient. He spat. Great. Ash drew another knife, the grip slick with sweat. He exhaled, centered his aim, and threw. Clean, fast, precise. The ground shuddered mid-release. Something massive slammed into his back the instant the blade left his hand, the collision violent enough to hurl him forward. The knife veered off course, spinning low and embedding itself in the dirt just in front of the predator. He hit the ground hard, the breath crushed from his lungs, rolled twice, and came up on one knee. Pain flared down his spine as he twisted toward the impact. The durability beast he just killed stood there again, eyes glowing white, ribs still torn open where the last knife had hit. It charged without sound, without hesitation, like a corpse being puppeted by will alone. Bash swore, teeth bared. You've got to be kidding me. The reanimated creature charged. He sidestepped, barely, the shockwave of its weight knocking him off balance. His last knife flashed out and reflect X burying into the beast's neck, but it didn't even slow. He dove aside again, scanning the ground. 3 knives buried in corpses, one stuck in the dirt before the predator, and one now lodged uselessly in the reanimated brute's hide. The predator hadn't moved, still watching, still glowing. Bash's mind raced. SC, talk to me. How many times can it do this? As long as the fragments remain intact, she answered grimly. It's recycling corpses through its own field. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Run Doc.